Hello, hello, hello. I'm Jay Havlin. We have Willie. He's our senior web developer for my brother spot. And Willie has been building websites for 30 years, family. And we had a conversation, a very interesting conversation about websites ranking well on Google. And Willie gave me some great pointers about how to rank on Google. Can you fill them in, Willie?
Hey, how you doing, Jay?
Hey, how you doing, Willie?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. Well, I do remember. I mean, we've had a bunch of conversation about around, you know, websites, not only ranking, but a lot of different things, and a lot of conversation we've had. Like we had a conversation last week. It was kind of like talking about more about businesses and stuff like that. But it seems like there was a lot of interest in like the specifics of, okay, so all that other stuff with business, I know it, I know to go to the bank, I know, but then once you have your business, how do you get traffic to your website? How do you get clients, stuff like that? One way to do that is to first of all have a good websites that allow you to um, uh, uh, be seen, to have good visibility. Good visibility, currently means ranking high on search engines like Bing and Google. And there are a bunch of other search engines out there, but Bing and Google is the biggest. Um, there's a new search engine that a lot of people have been using, Gemini and ChatGPT.
I love
And
Gemini.
yeah, it's pretty much the same concept, as ranking on Google or Bing. Okay, now I will probably go a little bit in technical details because a lot of times you ask questions to people like myself
Hmm.
who are in the business, and they obviously know more than the average person in that domain or in that field, and they just
Right,
tell you surface answers, right? you know
right.
they tell you, hey, write a blog, which is, you should do that, right? But they
Hmm.
tell you write a blog, they tell you, you should, add your business to directories, but it's all surface stuff, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, if some people want to be empowered and to know, okay, what exactly I got to do. Now, I will tell you exactly what you have to do. Some people are not willing to do all of this, but I will tell you exactly how you take a business from zero and rank on Google and start getting organic traffic on a steady basis. Okay. Myself speaking right now, that's how I make my living. You know, I've built thousands of websites and currently manage, hundreds of websites. And with the majority of them, ranking number one in for keywords that are related to that business industry, or keywords that the clients of that business is searching for. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go really in detail, but it's really good information. So if you have to take notes, definitely take notes. Or I don't know how long this video will be up, but
Willie,
uh,
just go as long as possible because I know, I mean, and I appreciate you helping me with my website and helping me make passive income. I really appreciate you. This has to get out. So go ahead, take your time, Willie.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, organic traffic is very important to succeeding online, because of course you can pay for Google ads, you can pay for Facebook ads and things like that. But for a lot of new entrepreneurs, they don't necessarily have the budget for this type of stuff. I mean, if you really want an effective campaign, you have to invest at least $1,500 to $2,000 a month starting, right? For most business, I mean, some people tell you, hey, you got to get started somewhere. You can start with 150, $200, but that money, if you spend that money, is so ineffective that you might as well keep it in your pocket. Okay, so let's assume that we're starting a business. We did all the stuff, bank account, whatever, and now we're at the website. And some people, where they go to Wix, they go to Squarespace, they go to Shopify, they go to there's so many of them out there, yeah, it's a lot out there, um, and and they go there and they start their website, which is fine. um, but let's not forget what's the whole point of having a website. The whole point of having a website is to increase the visibility of your business. So if you're going to have a website and nobody is going to be able to find this website for multiple reasons, okay, then it defeats the purpose of having a website. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so um, nowadays things have changed. Okay, people used to go, like web developers like myself, they used to use different tools that came along the ways. But when I got started, it was just like Notepad. So you write your code on Notepad, and then you use a browser to see what it looks like, and and you had the address for all your pictures, and you had to enter the address. Nowadays, it's a lot more sophisticated than that. Okay, a lot of times you start your website, you're going to use a website platform. You're going to choose a website platform. Wix is a website platform. Shopify is a website platform. Squarespace is a website platform. And there, WordPress is another popular one. It's another website platform. And why those platforms? Because those platforms allow you to, first of all, save a lot of money, because you don't have to have servers at your house, and back end tech, back end tech people, front end tech people, security, all that stuff. They handle all that stuff. Okay, and that's called those platforms are called CMS, content management systems. Content management system, because essentially what they do is they manage your content, because a website used to be just the code, the HTML portion of the code. Okay, and it used to be you just write that code, and then it got a little bit sophisticated, right? Then something called CSS was added to it, which is for styling. So you were able to add different type of font, different kind of color, and then over time JavaScript came on, and so now it's not just one file that hold all your code. Is multiple files. So what these people do is, with their system, they organize it where you don't have to organize all that stuff. Like they make sure that it all links and sync together, so that your website can be seen online. Because back in the day, you also had to upload your website. This one here is fine, because a lot of these platforms, they already have their system. When you go on there, you're already online, sort of. So you don't have to necessarily just upload your system. You upload, but it's like you don't know that you're uploading, because they're already doing all that stuff for you. Okay, but this is where a lot of people go wrong. Okay, because
Why
the
did
platform,
why did they go wrong by doing it?
because the platform that you use, okay, that platform is, how to expand that. So the platform that you use is on different types of servers, okay, and the server conversation, I'm not going to go too much in detail on it, okay,
Okay.
because it can go on and on and on. It's like talking about cars. There's so many different kind of cars with so many different types of situation. So we're not going to go in detail on that, right? But let's assume that all of the content management systems are set up on similar servers or similar platform. Now, one of the huge factor of ranking on Google is called page speed, and you can Google that. It's Google page speed, and basically for Google, that is a major factor in the algorithm to rank on the first page. Now, what affects the speed? The speed of the website is directly related to the server that you're sitting on, also the structure of your website and that kind of stuff. But the server, and then earlier I mentioned something about back end development and front end development and all this stuff that it's technical, but essentially a website has multiple sides of it, right? Front end development is the side that people, when they go www.yourwebsite.com, whatever they see there, that design is done by a front end developer. There's a something called developers that are called full stack developers, which mean they do the front, the back, they do the security, the data management, all that stuff. Okay, but most people are more familiar with front end development. Okay, but the back end development is just as important and affects page speed, because in order for
Why is page speed so important?
well, it's important because it's a major factor in the Google algorithm, but it's not only Google, it's Bing, it's other places. Okay, and
Mm,
actually, I'm going to go off course a little bit, but
okay.
going back probably about 30 years ago. Okay, well, a little bit less than 30 years ago, but um, Google was not always the largest search engine in the world, right?
Really?
Uh, so there were other search engines that you may remember. Netscape, right? You remember
I
Netscape?
remember Netscape. Yeah,
Right.
I remember
You used to
Netscape.
go on there and type your stuff. There was some other ones. There was Excite. There was even Yahoo. Yahoo was pretty big back in those days. So what made Google really come to the forefront and become the leader in search engine is that Google, uh, realized that when someone searched for something, they want an answer right away, right now. So what Google did is, they actually decided they're going to rank the fastest loading website first. So if you were looking for something and you click on it, and it popped right away, and then people got used to that, and they're like, you know what, Google is much better uh, when I'm trying to find stuff, because you would go on Netscape and they would take you to a website that takes 5 minutes to load. You have to go to you have time to go to the bathroom, go to the kitchen, and the website still hasn't loaded, right? So this is one of the pillar of the success of Google, because they decided, hey, you know what? The people that we're going to put on the first page are people that are investing in their servers. The clients, the Google clients, are really the people searching. So when the clients go on Google and they search, they get exactly what they want right away. Okay, and you will notice that if you go on the first page of Google for whatever keyword you're searching for, if you click on any of those links, website will come up right away. And 99% of the time, it's going to be exactly the information you're looking for. Okay, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Let's go back to the CMS platform, content management systems. Okay, so we talk about servers that they sit on. Okay, and I say I'm not going to go in details. Okay, but assuming that they're all on similar servers, the other thing that really stops platform for performing well on Google is what you call code bloating. So the back end of your website is where you have, back end is written in different it's JavaScript, but it's also stuff other languages, depending on whatever CMS that you own, right?
Mhm.
But essentially, the back end, the system does so much for you that they have to write codes for the system to do it. It's very complex, and the more complex it is, and the less the servers are performing, the slower that whole system is. Okay. Now, because Wix and Squarespace, those type of platforms are made for people who just getting started. You know, um, so they know that a lot of people, because that's what Wix success is because they are attracting people that have no technical knowledge. So they have to write codes in the back for a lot of the functionalities to work without you having to write codes yourself, or you can just drag and drop and put something together. While that's great, this is exactly why it's not good for business,
Mm,
because all that code, that extra code, slows down the server
mm,
and basically kills your chances of ranking on Google.
mm.
And
I remember you telling me this.
Right. And that's one of the key thing here. That's why I tell a lot of people, if you want to really make money online, okay, you have to either go to a professional or you have to learn how to do it yourself. But it's not going to be easy. I mean, you have to commit some time and money to this, right? Okay. Now, if you want to go the Wix route, you can, or if you want to do Squarespace, you can build a beautiful website on there, but it's going to be very hard for you to rank. Also, because they do all everything for you uh, on the back end, so you don't have that much flexibility in for SEO and stuff like that. Now, almost went out of business because of this. The only thing that saved WordPress is 20 years ago, everybody was on WordPress. Like everybody was on WordPress, and they had so many people that were on there. And we know that when it comes to technology, it's hard for people to move on to something else because, hey, I spent all this time learning this technology. And so WordPress was basically people who had WordPress websites. It was outdated and stuff like that. WordPress actually did a lot to give people, I mean, they improve, the code loading, server speed, all that stuff, where to the point where there are some WordPress website that could rank very well. Also, WordPress, you can buy your own server, right? You don't buy your server, you really kind of rent it, but you can go on GoDaddy and then you have different types of hosting plan. Maybe in the future we'll talk specifically about the difference in hosting and stuff like that. But for now, we're not going to go there because it's a huge conversation. But to make the story short, WordPress gives you flexibility into hosting, so you can actually, put your website on a faster platform on a dedicated server, which of course will cost you more money, but at least you stand the chance to rank because because your website is performing much better when it comes to that. Okay, now when it comes to Wix and Squarespace and similar platform, I'm not shitting on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking bad about them. It's still a great platform, because if you want to have a website and really that's all you can afford, then you're gonna have a website, but don't expect that website to make you money. It's just gonna be like, hey, when you meet your client and they want to go see your website, then at least you have a website, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can't do anything else, at least have a website, right? But keep in mind that when you go on Wix and Squarespace, you have to build your website. So even though they do a lot for you to show you how to do it, but if you come across people who build those type of websites, usually website is not great because even though they do a lot for you, it still takes a great deal of time to build something that's proper, right? Okay. So the CMS platform, the website platform that you own is actually, makes a huge difference. There's another platform that's very popular. It's called Webflow. Okay. And I'm just giving you these names. I don't endorse anybody and stuff like that. I'm on none of those platforms. Okay. But I'm mentioning these because, some people do have, the will, and the ambition and, to go and learn how to do this on their own. Okay. And you will learn a lot more than this conversation we're having right now as you do it yourself. Okay. I forgot to mention Shopify. Shopify is one of those platforms that's also, they for me, it's kind of like it's kind of right in the middle. It's not super bad, but it's not super great. You definitely have more flexibility than Wix when it comes to SEO and writing your own codes, and you have some access to the back end as well. Okay, so I would say Shopify is kind of like middle of the way, and then Webflow and WordPress is probably a little like kind of like a little bit above those, and then Wix and Squarespace is kind of like the bottom tier, and then there's a top tier, and then the top tier is actually professionals, because professionals use platforms that a lot of people cannot afford, because it costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, just for your website. It's usually companies, they go to professionals, and professionals build those platforms, and they pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. So I'm not going to mention this in this conversation because we're talking about an entrepreneur just getting started. So we want to talk about reality, right? You don't have thousands of dollars on a monthly basis to commit yet. Okay. All right. So I would say basically in my book, just for that, I would avoid Wix and Squarespace, Shopify, and WordPress. I would say you can go there, but I will put it in quotation mark. Like, you really have to do a lot of work and up your knowledge, your technical knowledge, in order to perform on those platforms. Okay. Before we get off of there, so all of the platforms are doing this now. They have mobile friendly versions of your website. Okay. So but if you go to a platform that doesn't have that, don't even waste your time, because if you don't have a mobile side of your website, if you remember, we've looked at statistics for your website, and the majority of the people go visit your website from their phone. You do remember that. Yeah.
Right.
So if you don't have a mobile friendly website, also Google is not going to rank you well if you don't have a mobile friendly website, because remember, Google.
So the AI is that smart.
Was that?
So the AI on Google is that smart, where they just.
We'll kind of talk about that. I mean, that's probably another conversation as well. But yes, Google systems are very smart. Okay. But when it comes to mobile, it knows right away if you're mobile or not, and essentially, if you go to a platform that doesn't allow you to have a mobile version, or they don't offer that, I don't even know if there's any major platform that has this issue, but you're just not going to rank, because most people are going to search for you on their mobile, on their phone. Okay. And that's pretty much the important part. Okay. So now we're going to move on. Okay. Now that you figured out, okay, I'm going to go with this particular platform, and this particular platform is known for low code, like no code loading, great servers, all that stuff. Okay. So now you go and look for a domain name. So here's what happened a lot of times, right? When it comes to domain, most people, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do my domain. So let's assume that they make cakes, right? Okay. So they're going to say, hey, my domain is going to be atlantacakes.com, right? And then they go on GoDaddy, and they're like super excited, and they type atlantacakes.com, and two things happen. Either it's not available, or it is available for $5,000.
Oh,
okay. So then they're like, oh, okay, I can't do that. So then GoDaddy gives you different options. Okay, so atlantacakes.com is not available. How about atlantacakes.live, atlantacakes.biz, atlantacakes.this, or how about the best Atlanta cakes is atlanta.com, right? So you start having all these variation, and usually people go with something like the best Atlanta cakes in atlanta.com, right? A long domain is really bad for business. First thing first, people don't know how to spell nowadays. Okay. So the longer your website,
how many letters should they have, Willie? Like
you really should attempt to have less than 10 characters in your domain. Okay. Because again, the longer, because imagine this, you like, well, I'm in Toronto. People here ride the subway a lot. They don't, a lot of people don't drive here. But assuming you're on the subway, and you're on your phone, okay, you're not really going to type on your, and I know you've did that before. You try to go on the website, it's too long. It's like, forget it, man. You're not going to type, best Atlanta cakes in atlanta.com. You're not going to type all of that, right? You want something to the point, or cakes.atlanta, something like this, or atlanta.cakes, or something like that, right? You want something small. You really want less than 10 characters if possible. stay as close as possible to that. Okay, and the main reason also why uh, that's important is because, as I was mentioning earlier, people don't know how to spell. So the longer the name is, the harder they're gonna get it right. I mean, the higher chance that they're gonna get it wrong, right? Okay. Also, in your name, you should make sure that you have the main keywords associated with your business. So if you're selling cakes in Atlanta, okay, I would try to go with cakesinAtlanta.com because you got cakes and you got Atlanta in there, right? Atlanta.cakes. I can even do um, cakesinAtlanta.io or something, but you have to make sure that you have your keyword in your domain. Whenever possible, I would try to go for a .com, um,
Why
because that's
.com? I know why, but
well, .com is it's basically the most popular domain name extension, right, in the world. And they got a bunch of domain name extensions nowadays, but usually when you have a .com, people have a little bit more respect for your business. Now that doesn't mean .net, .io, other stuff is not relevant. It's just that to the broader population, when they hear .com, they know that okay, that's a website. Some people, if you tell them .io, they're gonna feel funny because they're gonna be like, what is that, right? You know what I'm saying? So especially if you have a business that deals with the public, you want a .com as much as possible. Now I will mention something. I know that most of the people watching are in the United States. In Canada, you have the country domain. Like in the US, you have .us. In Canada, you have .ca, and then you have different countries around the world that have their own country domain name that only the people that live in that country can have. So if you are building a business, a website in another country as well, you might want to look into your country domain. Because a lot of people, they are aware of that domain and they know, okay, this is a local business and stuff like that, right? Okay. So that's one thing that's important. So let's remember to put your keyword in your domain and keep your domain as short as possible. Now I'm saying 10 is the best. I mean, if you find a domain that's 12, 13 characters, I mean, it's fine, but you want to make sure it's easy for people to write it. Okay. And if it's hard to write it, so for example, black business, they like to do this. They like to use, for example, president with a Z, right? Or they like to use, they like to change the normal way that people write stuff, and while that's clever, right? But some people, they will hear it and they will go on the website, but if they don't know how to spell it the way that you spell it, then you may lose those people. So make sure that whatever spelling you use, or if your spelling is complicated, then you should buy other domain names that are similar in writing, you see, to the domain that you want, so you can forward those domains to the proper domain, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, after all of this, now you have your website, you have a domain, and you're going to start working on your website. Okay. And working on your website is where it gets real, because people are just like, okay, so now what? Now what? I got a domain, I got a website, now what? Okay. So because I was talking about Atlanta Cakes, we're just going to use that for, examples. Okay. So first of all, you want to map how your website is going to be. So how many web pages it's going to be? It's going to be 5-page, 10-page. Most websites are 5-page. There's some websites out there that's much larger. Like my brother's spot is thousands of pages, but most websites are 5 pages. So it's like straight to the point. It's the main page where people land on there. It's also called the home page. And on that page, it's basically, maybe a picture of your cake, maybe a little bit about yourself. And
this is on what type of platform? The Wix, the
it could be on It could be on any platform, but as we talked about CMS earlier, I don't recommend Wix and Squarespace because the goal here, we're trying to rank number one on Google. So
That's
we
right.
know that these platforms,
So when
um,
people rank number one on Google, that's more people seeing them, and that's more potential income.
that's correct. That's correct. Because nowadays, the way business works, people search online. Now they're searching on AI, but before that, they go on search engine on Google and they search for it. And you want people to find you when they look for you. And because the people that find you are people that are ready to buy. Okay,
Right.
so that's why you want it that way. Okay, and this is takes us to that next point that I was getting ready to talk about is keyword research. So if you're selling cakes, what are the keywords that people are looking for? For what you're selling. So if you're selling cakes, sometime you would have different kind of cakes that you specialize in, right? Okay, just to make it easy, I'll use colors, right? So let's say blue cake, red cake, orange cake, green cake, right? Okay, so you would have to say, okay, you know what? I have these four cakes I'm selling. So those are keywords. So you want when people look for orange cake, blue cake, green cake, red cake, uh, you want your website to rank for that, right? So those are some of your keywords. This is how keyword research work because sometimes people hear keyword research and they get like so overwhelmed. But that's all it is. It's basically what is it that someone would type to find you? And we're talking about someone that's looking for what you're selling and is ready to buy. Okay, what are they searching for? Okay, so while we're on the subject, okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Okay, so my company is Atlanta Cakes. Can you give me a couple more keywords that I need to search for? I mean, I need to make sure that it's in my list of keywords that people find me for. Can you hear me?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So I was putting you on the spot. So
No,
if
I
my
was
if
getting some messages. My bad.
okay, so if I'm if I'm selling cakes in Atlanta, okay,
Hmm.
what are some of the keywords that
Birthday,
I need to birthday or birthday cake? That's a good one.
birthday
Birthday
cake.
cake.
Hmm.
Okay, and what else?
Desserts. It could
Okay,
be
so
pastries.
hold on 1 second. So now we're going somewhere here because you say dessert pastry. So keywords, the shorter the keyword, I mean the short in terms of number of words. Okay, the
Okay.
shorter the keyword, the harder it is to rank for that. Because
Mm.
when you say dessert, it's not specific enough. It has to be like dessert cakes or dessert cakes in Atlanta, dessert cakes for your birthday. Because this is what people are going to search for. This is called long tail keywords. Okay, which means it's a series of words that people would type. So for example, if you are selling basketballs, okay,
Hmm.
and you do your keyword research and you say, okay, my number one keyword is going to be basketball. Well, that's unrealistic because, first of all, the competition for basketball is
Hmm.
going to be insane. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be insane. And plus, on top of the fact that it's insane, but it's not specific enough because when somebody type basketball, what do they mean? Do they mean they want to watch basketball, or do they want to play, or do they actually want to buy a basketball, or do they want to find out what basketball is? So you don't want people to find you for keywords that are too broad. You want to be specific. Okay, so if you're selling a blue basketball, you know what I'm saying, uh, that's made specifically for kids or for women, so you say blue basketball for women. Okay, that will be your keyword. Okay,
Okay.
so that's the keyword research part is good. Now Google has something called keyword planner, which helps you to actually narrow down the keywords that you want your website to rank for. Now, why do you narrow down? Because just like I was just saying, the competition. So when you go to Keyword Planner, you can see actually how many people are searching for that keyword in your area or across the country. Okay, and you can see how high is the competition for that keyword, because the higher the competition, the harder it is to rank for that keyword. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? So it will be like me trying to play basketball, right? And well, if I'm looking for a league for me to play basketball, am I looking for the NBA or am I looking for a local league in my neighborhood? Where do I have more chance of making it?
You know damn well local league in your
Right,
neighborhood.
right. You know what I'm saying? Because if
Yeah.
I go, I'm 5'9", so if I go to NBA practice, trying to get on the Toronto Raptors, that ain't gonna happen. You know
No,
what I'm
I
saying?
feel you really. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
can you explain to the audience, even the people that's going to watch this later, like how vast this ocean of money for online businesses is?
Well, the thing
When
is, there are
when
a
you
lot.
when you when you rank, I mean, and it's just so wide open.
So the thing is, there are so many niches, out there, like so many. You'll be very surprised. The internet is still pretty much untapped. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's so untapped that you can start your business today in 2025. E-commerce or whatever you want to sell online, and you can still become a millionaire
Hmm.
today because it's so untapped. So if you don't, if you understand how to do keyword research, you will find those
Right.
places.
You're
Now
not
I mentioned
swinging on a crowded block yet. Everybody's not on
that's
this.
right,
Everyone's trying to work. Everyone's
and
trying to
that
work. And
and
people
that's
want
what
services and business. They just have to see you. And on the
that's
search
right,
engine, they're ready to spend money.
and that's why the keyword planner with Google is great because it is free.
Right.
But other search keyword research software or tools are not. Okay, so you have Ahrefs, which is a platform that will probably cost you, around $200 a month or more for one website just to do keyword research, right? You have, um,
But it really works and makes your job easier.
oh yeah, it does. You have SEMrush. I use SEMrush. I'm a big on SEMrush. I have a huge enterprise account with them, right? Because for all the my clients and stuff like that. Okay, SEMrush does the same thing. SEMrush is probably similar to Ahrefs. I think between Ahrefs and SEMrush is probably similar in pricing. Sometimes I tell people $200, and they're like, "Oh, I went to SEMrush. I saw it's like $120." But the thing is, they have. I don't think there's anything $120 anymore. But
Mm.
they bring you in, but then that particular lower price point, you can only do so much on it, right? So if you want to do some real keyword research and go deeper into what you're doing, and now you have AI, so you want to look into chat GPT, what's going on, all of that, you have to pay a little bit more, right?
Now,
But
how does my brother spot come into this as in helping our people? And it's exclusive to try to get our people into the AM so they could get used to becoming an online business owner, and then they're ahead of the game with their brand in 2 3 years where they're making passive income like I am, and you definitely, you know what I'm saying? And the other my brother spot text on there. Thank you for you guys, my brother Spot, who's going to watch this later, crew. Man, thank you for, putting me onto this because I never would have had this opportunity. That's why I'm the brand ambassador. That's why I have Willie on this live because he, they basically saved my life. Like, I'm going to get eventually fired from my job. Things are going to, AI is going to take over and all that. I'm not even worried, and Willie's not
well,
worried. And a
here's the
lot of
thing.
people, and a lot of people should I really feel should get on this and take a chance and get out there and be uncomfortable and go on my brother's spot and purchase, like, list your business, and go on and try to sell a few products. You could sell products on my brother's spot, and you could get a one-page website, and you could get up to like 15 pages on it. Go for it, family.
So specifically to keyword research, okay.
Mhm.
Uh, One of the great reason to be on My Brother Spot is because when people are searching for keywords, for example, real estate agent in Atlanta, if you Google that, you will see that My Brother Spot is ranking high for that. So if you're a real estate agent in Atlanta, people will find you that way, right? So uh, the reason why I'm talking about this in detail is to show you that, there are things that we are doing at My Brother Spot to actually make it easier for people to be visible. But I want them also to understand, what it takes. Okay, from the very beginning to the end. And they can have a better appreciation, a better understanding of what it is that we can actually do. Okay, there are some other platforms, that are very crucial in search, keyword research, and people don't even use it. So you have Google Search Console, and Google Search Console, which is also offered by Google and completely free. Okay, if there's
Mhm.
anything
Right.
that you remember from this conversation we're having, is my website has to be on Google Search Console, because Google Search Console, it shows you in detail, what are the pages that are ranking on Google, what are the pages that are not ranking, what are the, is your website fast enough, what are the websites that are linking to your website. So it has all of that, and it is free. Okay, so the part of keyword research, there are tools out there. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. Most of the free ones is on Google, so you might want to use those ones to look into, what's going on with your business and the traffic and stuff like that. Okay, but just remember, this is not sexy work. This is not entertaining. Okay, this
Mm-mm.
is straight up, data, and you have to go through it to, see what you can get out of it, right? Okay. um, so just to recap for that, keyword research is a very important part, because it will allow you to find that niche where people will find your product and spend money with you. Okay, and you want people to be able to find you not only on Google, not only on Bing. You want people to find you on ChatGPT. You want people to find you on, Gemini. Okay, that's how business is done, right? Okay, and then I see a question coming in there. Why GA4 and SEMrush traffic
Mhm. Shows
shows
different.
different?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's a very good question, actually,
Mhm.
because Google doesn't share the information with SEMrush. SEMrush uses simulation of, of how much traffic is actually coming into your website, because SEMrush doesn't have direct access. Who has
Mm.
direct access is any analytics. So a lot of the CMS that we talked about earlier, they actually have analytics on their platform, and then you can look at the right information there, and then they can look also at the right information on Google. Personally, I trust Google and I trust analytics on my website, but SEMrush will put you kind of like in the ballpark of how much traffic is coming in, right? But Google don't share that information with SEMrush, so that's one of the reasons why. Okay,
Mm.
so that's how that works. Okay, so we'll move on to the next thing. Okay,
Yeah, one of the
um,
guys said Willie Sakow. I don't know how to say his name. He said Willie the pitch. The voice is high. I think something's wrong with the microphone.
oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you properly, but I guess he couldn't. That was at 8:16. He may be off
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Okay. No problem. I mean, this is recorded, so if you can hear
Right.
me properly, then it's gonna be good. Okay. So the next part. The next part is where we start to get a little bit technical. Okay.
Okay.
And it's about website structure. Now, if you remember earlier, I talked about, um, I talked about, um, um, well, we talked about the content monitoring, content management system, and I mentioned about how to plan for your website, home page, and whatever. I mentioned that earlier, right? So, uh, so you want kind of like there's a file called sitemap. I think I told you about that. You will see that under either your CMS, or you will see that under Google Search Console. You can submit your sitemap on there. Um, and and, uh, and essentially, before you even start your website, you want to map your website for yourself. Okay. One of the things that the CMS do is they'll create that sitemap for you, right? But you also want to map your website so it's like clear. So it's almost like a structure. When you build a house, you don't want to build a house without having a plan. You want to know, okay, if it's going to be a 3 bedroom, I'll put 1 bedroom in the corner here. I'm going to put here. So it's the same thing. So you're going to have your home page. You're going to have your about page. You're going to have your contact page. So and then you're going to link them all together, right? So you want to plan how you do that. Okay. And that's basically part of website structure, because if your structure is not good, it will confuse the robots from Google or Bing or ChatGPT and so forth that are trying to understand what your website is about. Okay. Um, so there is, so I'll give you an example. Okay. So a lot of people start their website. It's going to be www.cakesinatlanta.com. Okay.
Mhm.
That's the main page. Okay. Then it's going to be a page about us. So under a lot of those CMS, you just click on add a page or something like that. A lot of them are very similar. You just click on add a page. Then you're going to add this page, and this page is going to be cakesinatlanta.com/XYZ3472Y thing, whatever. And that's going to be the page. And then people will start a page there. But what happens is, you know, when it comes to keyword research, and when it comes to the Google algorithm to understand what your website is about, it's not done properly. So you have to make sure all of the page are clear in the way that you build the page, what you explain. You can't have a page talking about all the cakes that you have on one page. You should have a page for one cake, for the orange cake, a page for the green cake, a page for the red cake, and it makes it a lot easier for the system to understand, what your website is about. So, and then all of the page on your website, you should really think about what you're going to put on the page, and then you should have your keywords for that particular page. It should be in your URL. So cakesinatlanta.com/orange cake, and then in your title, it should be, discover my orange cakes, and your description, it should be something like, you know, um, you know, uh, the best orange cakes in Atlanta, something along those lines, right?
Mhm.
Okay. But you should have orange cake, URL, title, description. You should have that exactly like that. Okay. Um, and then that makes it a lot easier, even for the people who go on your website, to see what your website is about, because they go and there's a link that says cakes, and then boom, they go there, they see all the different kind of cakes, and for Google to understand it is also a lot easier. And obviously that's going to show in your sitemap, that you have to submit into Google Search Console, right? But you want the structure of your website to be clear for you and for other people. Okay, always put yourself in the shoes of the people that are on your website. Okay, typically when I do a classic website, it will be home, the home page. On the home page, I just talk about the kind of like the big idea of what the website is about, and then I don't go in details on the first page. I have links that will send any idea that I start to develop on the first page. I have links that will send the people there to know more about it, right? The other thing that I have service. If you're selling products, I have products. So it's going to be home, then it's going to be service or product. Okay. And then on the service or product, I will have either my list of service or my list of product, and I will go and have a different page for each product or each service. Okay, so that's the thing that I do. Another page that I have About Us, which is really really good for AI actually, um, because when people go and type the name of your business in AI, if you have an About Us page, then AI will talk about your business from your perspective because it will take from that data
That's
to talk
dope.
about what your business is about,
That's
right?
dope.
So
Yeah.
you don't want AI to guess what your business is about. You want to tell it. So you have a page About Us. So it's cakesinatlanta.com/about us, right? Um, and then I always have a blog page because if you don't write blogs, you're not going to ever be on the first page. You can be on the
Yeah.
first page because of the 5 page you have on your website.
We
You
write
know,
blogs, right? On my brother spot.
yeah, yes, definitely, because blog is a very important part of ranking #1 on Google. If you
Right.
go back and if you do a lot of keyword research, you will see that a lot of the highest links on the first page are blogs. A lot of time, as a matter of fact, if you type Jamaican restaurant in Atlanta, you probably more than likely will see a blog that talk about Jamaican restaurant. You're not going to see a Jamaican restaurant. You're going to see a blog about Jamaican restaurants.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty important. And then there's contact with the list of your contact. That's where you put your social media, all that stuff. And also, if you are operating in multiple cities, then on your contact page, this is a perfect place to say, hey, we're in Atlanta, we're in Charlotte, and we're in Miami. Right? It's a perfect place for that. Okay. So now that you have the structure of your website like this, it looks clear to you, to the people that are visiting your website, and it looks clear to the people, to the robots that are reading your website. Now, I will give you some information that is brand new. So you have sitemap, of course, that has the map of your website. Robot.txt, which is a file that basically helps Google robots to understand what's on your website. And there's a new file that's called, oh gosh, I don't even remember. It's so new. It's so new. It's like probably like 2-3 weeks old. So there's a new file that helps AI to understand what's on your website. Okay, and I will find the name. I believe it's LMS. But I will find the name before the end of this live. It'll come back, okay? But it's brand new. It's like 3 weeks old, and definitely, if you're moving
Damn,
forward,
that's it. Only 3
yeah,
weeks.
it's brand new, okay?
Damn.
And whoever is gonna add these files to their website, some of the CMS platform will keep up, but some of them don't move as fast, okay? But you add that on there, it will help. The AI platforms to pick up that information, the information you have on your website, and understand it. Okay. All right. So now that we have the structure together, okay, and I want to stop here because I don't want to overwhelm people, but I want to recap. I like to do that to make sure that we're on the same page and things stay clear. Okay. So you started your business, you went and got a website on one of the CMS platforms. Okay. WordPress or Shopify or stuff like that. Hopefully not on Wix and Squarespace. Not that I'm talking bad about them. It's just that we're talking about how to rank #1 on Google. It's not going to happen on those platforms. Okay. All right. So now that you got your website, you went and got your domain name. So you got a really good domain name that really describes what you do. So cakesinatlanta.com is your domain name. So you got that all secured. And I forgot to mention when I was talking about domain earlier, while you get your domain, go and get an email that matches your domain. You don't go and get cakesinatlanta@gmail.com because it screams, I'm not professional, I'm an amateur, So just make sure you get that while you get your domain, okay? Then you're going to do your keyword research, okay? Now, if you're not ready to go on Ahrefs or SEMrush for a couple $100 a month, okay, then what you want to do is definitely use the Google Keyword Planner, and you want to use Google Search Console. You want to sign up for that, okay? So then we talk about the website structure. So you want to make sure you plan your website properly, and then you basically name each page. Don't talk about different thing on the page. Just have each page dedicated to one subject. It makes it so much easier for Google or other platform to understand what is it that you're talking about, what's on your website. Okay, now this is where we go. We start actually making, getting into the thick of it, right? Okay, so on-page SEO. I don't know if you guys ever heard that term. On-page SEO is exactly what it is. On-page SEO is whatever you see on somebody's website. On-page SEO. So if I'm going to talk about cakes, then I need to talk about cakes, right, on my website, right? I don't need to be all over the place. A lot of time people go and on the main page of their website, they talk about how their grandmother inspired them in 1985 to make cakes, and they go on and they talk about the uncle and the auntie. While that's great, you can do that, but you have to make sure that what you talk about, you stick to that subject, that you really, so on-page SEO is the content of your website, but it's not only that, is the title of your website. I briefly mentioned that earlier. I talk about the URL, Orange Cake, and the title, Orange Cake, if you remember that. So you want the title of your website to also have your keywords in there. So title of your website cannot be more than 60 characters. Now, I'm saying 60. Some people say 55. Some people say 65. So I'm going halfway, 60. So 60 characters. Your title should be 60 characters. Why 60 characters? Because when you go on Google and you do a Google search, on the Google search, you will see the title. And sometimes you will see the title is cut off. And you don't want it to be cut off, because you want people, when they do a research, you want people to clearly see what this page is about, right? So I can use as a title, Best Orange Cakes in Atlanta, which is probably under 60 characters, okay? But if I start talking about my whole life, and I say, for example, this is the best place to find best orange cakes in Atlanta. So all people are going to see is this is the best place, and then it's going to cut off. Does that make sense?
Oh, because there's so many words.
It's too many words, right?
Right.
So 60 characters for your title, okay? Yeah. Your meta description should not be more than 160 characters. Now, again, with that, some people say 155, some people say 165. So we'll just say 160. So you want a description to not be too long. This description is where you're going to say, this is the best place for the orange cake, whatever, no more than 160 characters. The description on the Google search is what you see right under the title. A lot of time you will see it also cut off because people, they write too much, right? So if you have it like this, people have all the information, they know what that page is about, but also for the robot, Google look at that and say, okay, this is exactly what this is about. It's a lot easier for Google to understand how to rank you and for what keywords, because they see, it's not so much writing, it's specific, right? Okay, so that's the meta description, that's the meta title. Okay, then you have H tags, which is also called headers tag. So if we're going to talk about the orange cake page, the orange cake page should use, so when you go on that page, maybe it's a picture of an orange cake, and then it will say, orange cakes for sale, for example. So orange cake for sale is going to be what you call a H1 tag. So the H tags have multiple level of importance. So Google basically use the headers, which are basically titles on that page, to quantify, how important that particular header is. So H1 is the most important. So when people go on that page, they will see H1 is going to be orange cakes for sale. And then you will have different headers. Headers is basically the title of a paragraph, right? So you have H2, which is less important than H1, but you got to remember, you can use as many H2, H3s, H4, H5s as you want, but there's only one H1. And the one H1 that you have is very important because this is what Google uses to rank you. to know, hey, this page is about orange cake, so they will rank you for orange cakes. So that's what they're using. So if you have two H1 tags on the page, it gets very confusing for the robots, and more than likely they won't rank you because Google will not send traffic to a confusing page. Okay, so as I told you earlier, it's going to get a little bit technical, but remember, is the headers. Okay, so headers, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. H1 is the most important, and H1 is the one that's related to everything that's on that page. Now, the keyword that you use for H1 header should be the same keyword in your title, in your meta description, and in your URL. Okay, so you want to make sure it's the same. Now, for the people who will listen to this, like a recipe, like they're just listening and doing it as I'm speaking and stuff like that, trust me, if you don't get it, just do it, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. And obviously, if your header is around orange cake, don't talk about green cakes or blue cakes on that page. Okay, you want your content to be specifically about orange cake, nothing else. Okay, I mean, obviously, you want to use natural words, but the conversation or the information that you have on that page, the pictures, everything should be about orange cake. And the reason why is because if someone is looking for orange cake and Google find this page that has the title orange cake, the URL orange cake, the meta description orange cake, the header tag orange cake, there's pictures about orange cakes, Google is going to be like, you know what, I think this is very relevant for orange cake search. So they're going to rank that page on the first page, you see, and they're going to know based on the content that you have on there, of course, because you can't just use all of that stuff and then talk about blue cakes. Based on the content that you have on there, which will line up with what you're talking about, this will allow you to actually rank a lot easier, considering all of the other factors that we talked about earlier. Okay. So this is what's called on-page SEO, and this is something that you have some control of, especially if you're on the platform like Wix, which doesn't allow you to have a lot of room for it's not very SEO friendly when it comes to writing all those tags and all this stuff. It's not flexible. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to say friendly. It's not flexible. Okay, but this one you will have. No matter what platform you're on-page SEO, you usually have a lot of control over that. Okay, and that's pretty much it for on-page SEO. I mean, we can go all of these stuff I'm talking about. We can go really deep in detail, but I'm just trying to give you, like the basic information that you can follow to rank #1 on Google. Okay, and my brother Spot is using those same tools and same system that I'm explaining to you in order to rank, and they are ranking for a bunch of keywords for a brand new website. It's pretty amazing, and it's driving, thousands of visits on a monthly basis already. Okay, so that's pretty cool.
And strangers spend money on you more than people who know you are familiar with.
That's right.
It's just like that.
So, yeah. So, anything else do you want to add? Anything else to what I've talked about so far?
Let's see if we have any questions. Well, okay, those questions already got answered. Anybody else who's on here have any other questions for Willie? We could just say this, Willie, pretty soon. My brother Spot, myself, Jay Hadwin, I'll be interviewing business owners. So look out for that. Look out for an email or, me getting in contact with you, and you could get on my brother Spot and get, some of our viewers to see your business, your Black-owned business, and get more potential leads.
So talking about leads, all of this stuff that I've explained, we're pretty much halfway to you ranking number one on Google. Okay, what will get you there is not all this stuff that I'm talking about. One of the main things that will get you there is blogging. Okay,
Yeah.
you want to post at least a couple of blogs a month. If you can do more, the merrier. Okay,
But
but you
most
want to
people don't
blog.
know how to blog, Willie. Like I
Why
didn't know.
why is blog why is blog so powerful? Because if you understand everything I talked about,
Mhm.
okay, and you structure your blog properly, that's additional content on your website that basically supports everything that the website is about. Okay. Um, so remember I talked about Jamaican restaurants earlier, and I told you that when people search for Jamaican restaurants in Atlanta or in New York or whatever, a lot of time it's going to be blogs in there. You know, and the reason why
But
is
can
because
an everyday person blog? You know,
blogs usually have more content than your average web page.
Willie, can the average person blog? Like know how to blog? That's what I'm saying.
In 2025,
Mhm.
the average person can blog very easily. We got AI. Okay, back in the days, I used to write all my blog
I
from
just, I
scratch.
just wanted Willie. I just wanted them to hear you say that.
Yes,
So
yes.
someone, yeah.
So it's very easy now to write a blog. So what
Thank
you
you.
do, what I do, first of all, I will say something about AI. It's a very cool tool. Okay,
Mhm.
don't go and tell AI write a blog for me because that's just so corny. It's not even funny. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that. Okay, what you do is this is what AI will help you best, and your content will be more original because guess what?
Appreciate it, Willie.
Everybody's using AI. So if you are not, if you don't have original content, AI is not going to help you. You see what I'm saying? You have to write your content. If you can't write it, you can just record it from your phone. Just record what you want to talk about. So if you want to talk about orange cake, you talk about orange cake. Put that in writing format and tell ChatGPT or Gemini to improve it.
Right.
Okay, you tell
Prove it
them
in a blog form.
rewrite and improve it. In 1,000 words or 1,500 words. But the base of it is your content. Okay, if you just tell AI go and write it, well, AI is going to write something generic, and generic information is not going to rank number one on Google. You want original content to
Mm,
be on the first, to rank on the first page on Google, because Google, they don't know specifically if it's written by AI or not. Okay,
mm.
but they know if it's
I thought they
original or
did.
not.
Wow. Okay.
They don't, but they know
Mm,
if it's original or not. And the
okay.
reason why is because they analyze other people's websites. So there are so many people right now, they go in and tell Google, write a blog.
Mm,
And they just take that and put it online. And when Google robots analyze all this data, they see that hey, all these people are basically they have the same information. But because you have original information, you have more unique perspective, and it counts for a lot for
mm,
Google. You see, because Google don't want people to get the same answer from everybody. They want unique answers,
mm.
and that's where blogging comes in, because there's something called so if you ever Googled, I at the bottom of the page it usually gives you questions that other people Googled, right?
Mm,
Okay, there was a
mm,
funny one back in the days.
mm.
This is like 20, 25 years ago. This was really funny. So Google gives you suggestions, right? So there's an image that went viral, and somebody did a search on Google, and they say, "Did white people steal it?" Okay, and the Google suggestion was, "Do you mean did black people steal it?"
What?
Yeah.
Hold
so
on,
so
man.
so Google did,
You
but
asked them that question?
they came a long way. This is something that went viral like 20 years ago. The
Oh,
algorithm wasn't as good as now, right?
okay.
But Google still does the same thing, but for different stuff, right? So, for example, if you are looking for, a blue car, then you would have somebody that search, for example, some people search, how much do blue cars cost? You know, and then you'll see something else that says, you know, are blue cars reliable? So these are titles for your blog because people are already searching for the answer to these questions. So you
Right.
should pay attention to this stuff. You can find some of this information during your keyword research, but basically, um, this information you can also easily find it when you Google yourself and you see a question that is not answered. You can use that for a blog. Okay, and the more you have this
So,
stuff with,
So Willie, when someone
mhm.
gets a website built, my brother's spot, and then they get one blog a year, they could go on that blog that's been built by us, right, and make it more detailed, and they could even help their website rank even more, even though we're SEO in it anyway, and get even better ranking by blogs, by them writing blogs
Yeah,
off of
writing blogs is very
one
important.
blog that our team does for them a year.
Now we write a blog to help them out, okay, but we encourage them to write blogs on their own,
But they could
okay,
kind of, that could kind of be just the essence of your business, and they could capitalize on that blog and make it better. Other ones better, right?
well, the thing is, the content of that blog is about your business, right?
Okay.
So because it's about your business, when people are looking for you and what you do, or when AI is going to talk about your business, they're going to piggyback from that blog. So
Okay.
that's good. But when it
Okay.
comes to specific details about your business, you should continue to blog. Actually, if you don't have a website, even if you don't have a website, blog is very important because there's a platform like, for example, this platform is called Medium. Okay, and Medium is a blog platform. I mean, they have a bunch of different blog platforms, but Medium is one of them. And you can write blogs, and these blogs get picked up by, Google. Some of these blogs
I'm
rank
looking
on
it up
Google.
right now. Medium.
Okay, Medium, Medium. Okay, but there's another one that I personally call microblog, which is also super great for SEO, and it's Reddit or Quora or similar platform like that where people go and ask questions. It's a gold mine because if you go on there and people ask questions about
Micro
the,
blog.
yes, and the reason why I call it microblog is because it's not blogging specifically, but it gets picked up by Google, and then people ask the questions. You will see a lot of time Reddit and Quora right at the top. Okay,
Oh,
and obviously it get picked up also by AI, but AI is new.
mm,
So before AI, you had that a lot, and that still goes on. Reddit is still ranking a lot, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the AI gets their data from answers from Reddit and Quora and those similar platforms,
mm.
right? Yeah. So you definitely want to write blogs about your business. And in your blog, don't forget to tell people this is my website. Go and read more about it. So you have to make sure you put some links on that blog that
Mm,
drives the traffic to where you want on your website.
mm.
Okay. And
Okay.
that's really, really good. The more blogs you write,
Mm,
the higher chances you're going to rank. Okay, you really want to do that. It's crucial for your success online, and I mentioned 1 or 2 blogs a month. Guess what, I probably write for a lot of those brands that I'm managing. We probably do
mm,
3 to 5 blogs a month, and
mm.
that's what really helps them rank. Okay, now about blogging specifically, I'm not going to go in detail on that as well because, like I say, some of this stuff you can talk about it for a long time, but maybe in the future we have an opportunity to go in detail specifically on that subject, right? Okay,
Mhm.
but to finish with that conversation, you have to make sure that your content is quote unquote high quality. Reason why I say quote unquote is because you do not want to go on ChatGPT and say write me a blog and walk away and come back and copy and paste. You don't want to do that. That's not high quality. High quality means that you have unique information in there, is written from a certain particular perspective that's unique, and that will help you to rank in niche for niche keywords, and Google will trust that this information is should be pushed at the front because the information is so unique. It's not like the same information that everybody else has, right? Okay. So that's that. Now, when you do write your blog, you want to make sure that it's not a whole long 1,000 word blog, one paragraph. You have to break it up into different subject within what you're talking about. Okay. And remember, we talked about H tags earlier. Okay. So the title of your blog is an H1 tag, because that's the most important information on that page. And then you have different paragraphs. These paragraphs have titles. You want to use H2 for titles. Okay. And then if you have under those different paragraphs, if you go a little bit deeper in, and you have sub paragraphs, talking specifically about that particular subject in the paragraph, that's maybe like H3 and so forth, right? Okay. So, and then you want to be regular in posting. You don't want to post a blog and then next blog is like 6 months from now. You want to just do it on a consistent basis, and that makes your website dynamic. It looks like, okay,
I like that word, dynamic. Okay.
Yes, because if you search for something and you've probably done it before, and you look at the date, right? You search, for example, as a matter of fact, I'll give you a good example. So today is Canada Day. So same thing as July 4th in the United States. So July 1st is Canada Day. And there's a restaurant close to my house that someone this morning, I walk in the morning. So I was doing my walk and I talked to somebody and they told me, hey, that restaurant for Canada Day, you can eat there for free. It's like a buffet style restaurant, So you say you can eat there for free. And I was thinking, oh, you know what, man, like probably there will be a long line of people. So I thought about it, but I'm not the type to go to buffet style stuff. But I'm like, hey, it's free, it's close to my house, why not, right? So I basically looked it up online, okay? And then it showed online that they were offering food for free last year, 2024, but it was not specifically to Canada Day. It was related to the 45th anniversary of that restaurant, right? So, and there was no information about 2025. So I looked at it, I was like, oh man, that's outdated information. Probably this year is not free. So I'm not even going to go there, right? So sometimes you look for something, right? You look for some specific information and you'll see some information, they'll say 2019. You're not even going to go read that because that's 6 years ago. Like that information has to be outdated, right? So when you write blogs on a consistent basis, people see that the information is fresh. Oh, this blog was written last month, so this is relevant to what's going on right now. They will go and read that. This will drive a lot more traffic. Google will also look at it and say, hey, this is the latest information. They'll push you to the top. Okay. Whoever wrote their blog in 2019, they're not necessarily going to, qualify, to be on the first page anymore because it's becoming outdated information. All right. So, yeah. So then we talked about. So let's talk about mobile optimization. Okay. So the CMS that we talked about earlier, all the different CMS, a lot of them have what you call responsive design. So it automatically recognizes whether you're on the phone, on the tablet, stuff like that. And this is part of the difficulty that people come across when they try to build a website, because if you don't understand that properly and you don't understand the channels where people actually see your website, most people will build their website on a desktop computer. So they'll look at the website, they'll be like, oh, that's great. It looks great. But most people access your website on the mobile version. And the mobile version need to be tweaked for mobile. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to start, putting your phone, landscape, portrait, all that stuff just to see what's there, right? You want the information to be exactly the way you should look on the phone, okay? A lot of people forget to optimize the mobile version of their website. Remember, most of the people that will come on your website will come on your website from a phone. Okay, and more than ever, a lot of people will find your website also doing search, voice search. So you want to make sure that you are optimized for that and that your website is fast on the mobile side. Because just because your website is fast on the desktop doesn't mean it's fast on mobile. Okay, and then when you go to Google page speed, you will be able to see the difference between the two. A lot of people on the desktop is great, but on the mobile, not so great. Okay, so you want to make sure that you optimize your website for mobile and make sure that the speed is good on there, right? Okay, um, and I will give you some pointers about the speed, right? Some of the image that people use, for example, how would you add an image, to your website? Probably just, I don't know. You can either go on ChatGPT, make an image, but nobody knows the size of that image, and nobody know how important it is for page speed. So you want to make sure that your image are not like huge image that takes a long time to load, especially on the phone, because a lot of phones are not as powerful as desktop computers, so it will take you longer to load. You know, um, some people have cricket out here. Okay, so so it's not moving quick. So you want to make sure that that you have a website that's light. So all the
Right.
pictures, stuff like that you put on there, don't put a lot of heavy stuff on there, right? If you do put videos, upload your video to YouTube and then put the YouTube link on your website. And the reason I'm saying this because sometimes videos are heavy and stuff like that, but YouTube has technology that makes it a little bit faster to load that video, right? Okay. For pictures, if you have a really perfect pictures you want to put, but the picture is big, you have things like you have compressors, image compressors, like tiny PNG. Um, I use a software called InPixio. There are a bunch of them out there. You could just Google compress image compressors. You'll find them. Just make sure your pictures are not large, because especially on the phone, it won't load fast. It will slow down your website, and once your website slows down, Google is not going to give you opportunity to to rank on Google. Okay, there's something else. It's called minimizing JavaScript. Okay, now sometimes we use widgets on our website for different stuff. You put a calculator, those widgets have additional codes. You know, uh, on the website, so you have to make sure those codes are written in as little form as possible, right? But this goes a little bit into technical details, but I have to tell you because it's important for you to rank number one on Google. It's important to know about this because it plays a major part. I will tell you, page speed is huge part of it. Okay, so if you have widgets and stuff like that, you have to make sure those widgets, are minimized on the coding side, and then also you have to make sure that you don't put a bunch of widgets and all over the place, and basically don't crowd your website with additional stuff that will stop it from performing properly. Okay, um, and then and you can also use the cloud, so to help relieve the website, so some of that information can be picked up from the cloud, from your website. So some image and stuff like that are not sitting on your server, but it's sitting on an external server that's not affecting the server that you're on. Okay, so far so good.
So far, so good, everyone. I guess no one's on Facebook. So
Okay,
yeah,
all right, we'll go on,
let me check. Yeah, most of the people are on YouTube, which we are
now
too.
we talked about you know keyword research earlier, and we were talking about niche, and I was talking about cakes in Atlanta. Okay, one way to actually perform very well is with local SEO. So, for example, um, cakes in Atlanta is a great. I mean, it's a great website name. It's a great keyword, but there are a lot of people that probably make cakes in Atlanta, right? And if I was able to get that domain, that's great. Most of the time, I'm not going to be able to get that domain. Okay, and I'm competing with these people. Um, but in Atlanta, you have different areas. You have Marietta, you have Alpharetta, Riverdale, Decatur, Gwinnett County. Those are all local areas that you can actually be the only person there to do business. So you can have, cakes in Gwinnett County, right? Um, so local SEO is huge because when I was saying earlier that the potential is untapped, okay, yes, you might have somebody that's ranking for cakes in New York City. Okay, great. But there are so many towns where nobody's competing. Nobody. You'll be the only person competing there. Cakes in Conyers. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get cakesinConyers.com right now as I'm speaking. I'm pretty sure nobody bought that, right? And then you become the number one person in that area. And this is what we're talking about in terms of like the opportunity, because you don't have to compete, with the big entities. There's so many areas that are still untouched. So many areas for so many services and so forth, right? Okay. So local SEO, one of the ways, the number one way that you can actually dominate locally and get tons of traffic to your website is by starting a Google Business Profile. So it's amazing how many business people are not on that. It's just amazing. Okay. Now, if I'm Googling right now, handyman in Atlanta, probably on the right side of my screen, if I'm on the desktop, will pop up, a profile about a business in Atlanta, and it's going to show up on the map, and it's going to say, hey, these are the business. Now, these businesses are small local business that get tons of traffic because Google literally saying, if you're talking about this particular area, here goes these 3 people that's doing it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a huge opportunity. So if you have a Google Business Profile, you get to be on the map for the service that you offer or the products that you offer. If you have a brick and mortar, or if you have an office client come to you, stuff like that, you'll be able to show up on the map. And the map search are huge. Now, if before AI, you could actually do this on any smartphone. You could say, hey, I'm hungry, I want to eat. And then you'll pop up all these restaurants. Those restaurants have Google Business Profiles. That's how they get found. Okay. And if you don't got a Google Business Profile, you will never, ever show up on the search like that. Okay. So this,
Willie,
yeah.
We had a question. We didn't even see it. I don't know how to
Okay.
work this. It says, does automating the SEO process with tools like
Nope.
Zapier?
I'm going to tell you right now. No. Well, okay. Zapier
Let me
is
finish the question. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's longer, brother.
Yeah.
He said, do automating the SEO process with tools like Zapier or N8 give results. We can create hundreds of pages /blog, but is it effective? My bad, Willie. Just go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. I understood where the question was going. Okay. So I know we're in the age of AI and stuff like that, and automation and stuff like that. Now, Zapier, there's so many things you can use with that, right? It's almost like, how many different things you can do with a pickup truck, right? It's very broad question, right? But the main thing is you can't automate anything if you don't understand how it works first. Okay. If you really know how SEO works, then automation might work for you. But if you're just brand new and you want to click buttons and think it's going to do it for you, it's not going to happen. You're not going to rank number 1 on Google, because if that was the case, everybody be number 1, which we know that everybody can't be number 1, right?
Right.
So that's the thing about that, right? And just like I was mentioning earlier about blogs, don't go to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT write a blog for you. You have to know how to write a blog first. You see what I'm saying? So that you can actually, have a different perspective, than the perspective of a robot. right? Now Zapier, there's a million things you can do with Zapier, you know, but including automating. And when he say automating SEO, I'm assuming you know, it'll put like your titles, your meta description, that kind of stuff. And this is exactly why, you know, you shouldn't do that, because you're trusting a machine to actually, you know, put the right information there. Because guess what? If you're doing it on Zapier, everybody else is doing it on Zapier. That means everybody's is getting the same information, because the machine is not going to give them different information. It's going to be the same thing. So if you're trying to rank for a particular keyword, like orange cake, for example, okay, then you want a unique, you know, you want a unique meta description. You want a unique, you know, meta title. You want a unique URL. You know, I wouldn't trust any kind of automation unless you're really good at SEO, and then you can like review it and make sure everything is okay. But if you don't have any knowledge on how to rank and SEO and stuff like that, I wouldn't recommend that. I would first write my own title, my own description, you know, and then I go from there. Because he mentioned another thing that's important. He's mentioned hundreds of pages. So, you know, I'm assuming that he has a website that's probably more advanced than these websites I'm talking about here. Because when you get to 100 pages, you probably know what you're doing, right? Okay. Because it's a lot of work to, you know, have a, you know, 100-page website. Now you have systems that's called dynamic. I'm forgetting the word right now, but you have websites, or you have systems that allow you to create pages automatically, and he may be talking about that as well. Okay, you know, and while that's great, but for content it may not be great, because the way that you need to look at it is, when you talk about SEO, it's about quality, not quantity. You see what I'm saying? So I can have a 10-page website that will rank much higher, much better than a 400-page website that have poor quality in content. You see what I'm saying? So before you scale, or before you know how to scale, you want to have the basics, the foundation really good, really strong. Okay. I don't know if that answers the questions. I hope so. Okay. Back to Google Business. Google Business takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes to sign up on there. Okay. And in that 5 minutes, you can put your website and stuff like that. It will drive a lot of traffic to your website. And also, because you have a profile with Google and Google knows what your website is, you have higher chance of ranking, because Google knows you a little bit more and they trust you more, because now they know your name, they know your business address. Business address has been verified. Sometimes they send you a postcard in the mail. Sometimes they have other ways of verifying you. So for Google, it's amazing for them to have you on there. So they're like, okay, we know who that is. We're going to rank that person. Okay. All right. So, and then also on your Google business profile, you can put photos on there. You can talk about your services. You can put your hours of operation, which is really cool, because if somebody is looking, for example, if you're running a restaurant, or if you're a hairdresser, and people need their hair to be, they're trying to get their hair done, then they know what your hours of operation is, you know. Or if you go to ChatGPT, for example, they'll say, hey, you know, this particular business, you know, are they open at this time? So they'll be able to pick up that information and know whether you're open or not, you know. So that's really good. Okay. But on top of Google Business, you should actually put your business on as many directories as possible. My Brother Spot is a Black-owned business directory that's growing. I'm one of the developers that are building that website. And before My Brother Spot, I was, the senior web developer for AfroBeesWorld.com, which is one of the largest Black-owned business directory in the world. Okay,
Check
they're
out
in Europe.
AfroBiz, family.
Yeah,
Check out AfroBiz.
yeah, they're in Europe. They're in North America. Pretty soon in South America. So I know that being on directories really help you because you get backlinks also from those directories, and that's another subject we'll talk about. You know. Uh, More in detail during another session, but
Yeah, backlinks
places like
help you rank too, right, Willie?
that's right. You have
Right.
other black-owned business directories, support black-owned, official Black Wall Street. There's a few more other pretty good ones, but you also have the regular standard directories. You have Yelp, you have Yellow Pages, Foursquare, and then I mentioned about getting Google Business Profile. You can get a Bing Business Profile. That's also very important.
Good.
Okay,
Okay.
and
All
and,
right.
and, and what that does, it makes your business legitimate because there's multiple. Because one of the ways that Google rank you is because if let's assume that you're the best barber in Atlanta. Okay, so you go on your website and you say I'm the best barber in Atlanta. Okay, so um, because you put that on your website, I mean, I'm supposed to just believe that, right?
Yeah.
So, so Google, what they do is they want to verify that information. Okay, so if you're the best barber in Atlanta, okay, so what are other people saying about you, right? So now they found you. You have they know you because you have a Google Business Profile. You are on Bing. You are on Yelp. You are on all these platforms, and there are some blogs out there. 'Cause we'll talk about guest blogging at another time as well. But you can also guest blog, and all of this information can make Google believe that you're the best barber in Atlanta because there's like 200 websites out there that's listing your services. There are some reviews out there
Locally, right?
locally. There's reviews of people that say, hey, this guy is 5 star and that kind of stuff. That helps you rank. So when you go on all these platforms, now I will tell you right now, when you sign up on platforms, you will receive a lot of phone calls because they're going to try to sell you all kinds of stuff. Okay, they'll tell you pay $900, and then we'll send you some clients. Are you ready to
Yeah,
accept new
that's true.
clients? That kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Which is fine. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Most of them are not good. Okay,
Right.
but you have also local directories. Not necessarily black-owned directories, but there's, maybe, for example, Conyers. If you look at Conyers directories, the city of Conyers may have a directories. Atlanta, for example, you have the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, then you have the Black Chamber of Commerce, and you have that in different areas, right? So also some churches have directories. You want to be on those because the more people validate your business, the higher chances you will rank higher on Google because you basically indicated to Google that you're a real business. Because Google will not send business to a website that nobody knows about. There's no links or nothing. Okay, these things will create backlinks. Okay, and the more backlinks, the better. Okay, and we'll go a little bit more in detail. But there are some companies out there. Uh, After you do all your directories and stuff, there are some companies that actually PR firms that will actually pay. So sometime you go to, for example, you go to CNN, right? And you see a story on CNN, and you're thinking this story on CNN is so unique, so oh my God! But they wrote a story about this guy who sell cakes in Atlanta, but a lot of times that guy bought a spot on CNN. You can actually do
Yeah.
that through PR
Dame
firms.
Dash did that a long time in
Right,
magazines.
right.
So, yeah.
So you can pay and get on some of these platforms. Some platforms is worth it, some platform is not.
Right.
On My Brother Spot, we'll write a blog about your business completely for free. So as long as you are, listed, on our platform, right? Okay.
Right.
And then we'll interview you. The interview will be on the platform as well. So that's at least 2 backlinks, right? Okay, that you get from My Brother Spot. So that's a good thing here, right? Um, and then what else? Yeah, so we talk about backlinks. Uh, by the way, when it comes to backlinks, there are some people that are selling backlinks online. Don't fall for that trap. There's something called white hat SEO, black hat SEO. Black hat SEO is basically uh, uh, SEO that breaks the rules set by Google or other search engines. Okay. Um, White hat SEO is basically you go by the rules. So some of those places you're not supposed to be able to buy links. You can't pay somebody and get a link. So a lot of time they will sell you a promise. They say, hey, this is the link, whatever. Now, don't get me wrong. It might work, but if you get caught by Google, you will get penalized and they will manually move your website to the lowest spot possible and you won't be able to bring that website back up. So I'd rather go by the rules. Okay. So when you go on there and you see backlinks, you buy backlinks for $99, be number one on Google. Don't believe that. Okay. However, you can build backlinks by reaching out to fellow business people in your community, and say, hey, I'll write a story about you. I'll guest blog. I'll talk about something. So, for example, if you're an accountant, and then you specialize in accounting for barbers, you can write a blog on barbers' website to talk about what barbers can do to get their accounting in line, right? So that's a really cool thing to do, and it will drive a lot of traffic to you, right? Now it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's just if you have a business, you should invest the time in stuff like that, okay? And also something else that a lot of people don't know: reporters, okay? So your local news station. Okay, you can contact reporters. It's not hard to contact them. You can just go on their website or you can go to LinkedIn. Okay, and then you want to know who the reporters are and then contact them. And if you have a business, you can contact them and tell them about your business, because guess what? What people don't know is that sooner or later, it's going to be a story, related to your business. And reporters, when they work in the office, they have like 2.5 minutes to find who they're going to interview. They got to put a story together. If they already know you, you're going to be the person they're going to contact. Okay, and you get a news story that's really good for website traffic. Okay, and also that's a very powerful backlink because it has a lot of authority, because it's the local news station. So Google recognizes that. That helps you move to the first spot on Google. Okay. And I can go on and on, but there's a bunch of bloggers out there. All you have to do is collaborate, and you will see that it's really not that hard to to create backlinks, okay, and really good backlinks. Okay. One of the ways that we're doing this on My Brother Spot, we're actually interviewing business owners completely for free, and then that content that from the blogs, from the interview, the video interviews, we go live and then we take that content and we turn that content into a blog, and then we share that content, and that gives a backlinks to the businesses that are working with us, and for those businesses, they also help us out because that's also a backlink for us, right? So that's collaboration, and that's really good in business. Don't stay on your little island and just do business by yourself and put your head in the sand and and just wonder why people can't find you. Collaborate. Okay. All right.
Let's work together, y'all. Let's work together. We're better together than separated. Go ahead, Willie.
Yep. So that being said, spam directories, like I was saying, people who say you pay for the backlinks, avoid that. Also Fiverr. I have to mention Fiverr because Fiverr tells you, hey, we'll send you links. Listen, most of these guys on Fiverr are red listed by Google or blacklisted, both probably, right? Do not spend no money for links on Fiverr. That's a waste of money. Okay.
I messed up on my other YouTube channel. That's why I'm laughing, y'all. Yeah.
Yep. So and there's something else called link farms. It's basically the same concept. There's no easy way to get to the first page of Google. You just have to do some of these things that I said, and you will see that time will show you that this is the way. Okay. So One of the last thing we're going to talk about is, first of all, Google does a lot to help you rank. Okay, like I mentioned about the Google Search Console. Okay, I mentioned about the Google Business Profile. I mentioned about the Google Keyword Planner. Okay, but here's another one that nobody uses: Google Analytics. Right? Okay, um, people don't use it. You get tons of information on who actually comes on website, and it gives you suggestions on what you can do to improve and stuff like that, so I mean, you could definitely use Href and SEMrush and systems like that if you have a couple $100, that you don't know what to do with, right? um, I mean, if you have the money, yes, definitely go on SEMrush and Ahrefs. But if you're just getting your business started, definitely use your Google tools, because Google has a lot of tools that are completely free that will make you understand much better, how your business is doing. Okay, um, and and the last point I'm going to talk about is SEO and social media. Okay, so unfortunately, especially for Black entrepreneurs, we go directly to SEO, I mean to social media when it comes to our business. Okay, so if I'm making cakes, I'll take a picture of my cake, I put it on Instagram, but I don't have a website. I just put that little message, DM me, get at me, that kind of stuff, right? Believe me, that's not how business works. You will not make a lot of money doing business
That's
that way.
low
Okay,
conversion.
now
Yeah,
don't get me
low
wrong.
conversion.
There are some super talented people out here that just have the eye for certain things, and some people will like what they see. But it's very few people that are that talented that they only need Instagram to succeed. It's
Right.
very few. And as a
And
matter of
they're
fact,
extremely likable, which
there's
I'm
all
not
of that,
extremely
but
I'm not extremely likable, but I'm truthful. So,
there's a lot of that. But one thing you have to know is that if you find someone that succeed on social media, 99% of the time they have a website.
hmm,
Like, you won't see
hmm,
people and it's like,
hmm.
DM me and these people actually making money. Nobody does business like that. Okay. Now, as a matter of fact, me personally, I won't send my money to anybody that I just find on Instagram that don't have a website, don't have I can't find them on Google, I can't find them anywhere. I don't trust that.
Hmm.
Now some of us do business like that, but you know, if you really want to make money in business, you really want people to find you online and to be able to connect with you. Go on your website, and then from your website you can collect some of the information, and that's a whole other subject. But basically, social media is a great way to drive traffic to your website. Also, a lot of people don't know is social media, there's a lot of platform that create backlinks. For example, Twitter, okay? Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, these type of platforms will create backlinks for your website. So you can make comments, you can write different stuff, you put your content on there, and then you have a link that sends people back to your website. And that creates backlinks. YouTube is a platform that does the same thing. So you have your title, your description. In your description, you put your website. That is a backlink when people click on it. Okay. And because YouTube is affiliated with Google, that will help you as well. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, and let's see here. Yeah. And then, yeah, on social media, basically, whatever post you put out there, just always make sure you got your business link on your profile. You got all that stuff. Now, we're not going to go in detail on that, but Facebook, for example, you have a Facebook page. So some of the content you post on Facebook will not be picked up by Google or any
Hmm.
other search engines. However, your Facebook page will get picked up because the content on your Facebook profile is private. A business page is public. So that
Hmm.
public information will
Hmm.
actually get picked up by Google, okay? And it will help you definitely for backlinks and stuff like that. But when you post, you put your information there, and then people that it will drive traffic to your website that way as well. Okay. Um, and then the last thing is reviews. I mentioned about reviews earlier, but you have to make sure all your clients, all your, you know, all your clients, all the people you offer services to, write reviews about your services. But you know who can write reviews about your services just getting started? Do you
Say
know?
that again.
Do you know who can write about your products and services just getting started? If you're just getting started, your business, you just posted your website.
I never really heard of no one doing that but us.
No, no. What I'm saying is, do you know, like, in your community, who can help you with write with reviews and testimonials?
In our community.
So you have friends, family, all these type of people. You can literally say, because they know you're really good at making cakes, or they know you're really good at cutting grass, or whatever service you offer. So you can
Okay.
just say, hey, listen, you may have done it for them. Can you go and write a review for me? Right? Those reviews,
Mm,
they can write it on Facebook, of course, Facebook reviews, Google reviews,
I see where you're
Yelp.
going.
Yeah, Trustpilot, and that is another dimension that Google get their data from, to push you to number one on Google. Okay. um, and over time, what happened is you build authority. So back in the days, there used to be a website. Well, they're still in business, called Moz, but they used to have an algorithm that defines the authority of your website. Okay, and that algorithm, was replicated by different people, including Google. Okay, so over time, Google will look at different factors, right? From the reviews, from your content, from backlinks, from your social media, all of that, to determine, how relevant is your website for the particular niche that you're in. Okay, and over time, you build authority. As your authority goes up, so does your ranking. Okay, and it can be fast. It just, all of this stuff we talked about just has to be done in a proper way. Okay, and I will basically go over all of it real quick, so we make sure that we understood all of it. Okay, but authority is really what will get you there. And good thing about authority is, like, think of it like, if you're in a job, right? So you in the bank, you start at a bank as a bank teller. Okay, then you become the supervisor, then you become the manager, then you become the regional manager. So basically, when you get to the point where you're regional manager, you know there's really no feasible way that you're going to fall back to teller, right? Because you've worked your way up there. Authority works the same way. As you build your business, once you basically become, your authority starts getting bigger. You know, uh, it's really hard for you to fall back to zero. And this is the part that all business people who want to rank on the first page of Google need to understand. It's not something that's going to happen in 30 days. Like some people are basically say, hey, I'll rank your business in 30 days, whatever. It can happen fast, but it's not 30 days. But you have to build it up. But the thing is, whatever you put in it, okay, it will basically, you know, uh, um, as you move forward, you want backtrack, at least not very easily. Okay, because when you write a blog, that blog will be online for as long as your website exists. Okay, when you people write reviews, those reviews will be there. So and then those backlinks that you have, during the George Floyd incident, I did a lot of interviews on TVs, on radio, on podcasts. Those interviews are still out there. So when people are looking for me, they can still find those interviews. That gives me authority in the subject that I'm talking about, right? Okay,
On
and
my
all
brother's
of those,
spot as well.
right? And all of those people, all of those links that I got along the way, will not easily just fade. Okay, so that's the other part that we need to understand, that you can have a business, you can, rank number one on Google, but you have to do all of the things that you need to do consistently. Okay, and you will be number one in Google. And I will tell you, for a lot of the businesses that I coach, okay, it probably can take 6 months to a year to accomplish that in your niche. Okay, um, there has been business that have done it in less time than 6 months, but the average, okay, but it is a lot of work. It is some money involved. Okay, and I come
And
across a lot of people.
we're
Some
basically, Willie, we're gonna make it easier for business owners. You know what I'm saying? Like just what my brother Spot has to offer, we're gonna make it way busier. I mean, easier for business owners.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing here on my brother's part. This is what we're talking about. This is why I'm giving you basically the whole game for nothing, right? Because
Yeah.
we want black-owned business to thrive. Okay, and I'm giving this information today here, but we have a lot of products and services that will come on my brother's part. Currently, we have ways for people to start e-commerce business for as little as $15, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
then you have people that can have their own web page, for $50 a month. Very professionally designed and stuff like that. And I'm put shout out to MikeyConsult.com, MikeyConsult.com, which is MIKEY CONSULT.com, which is the latest web page that we've built. Very professional. He's getting his leads from his clients, so it's very good. And as he build up, we still have to do an interview with him because he just got started with us.
Right.
But as he grows his business and we are able to write blogs and stuff for him, then he starts to establish his authority on the internet, right? So we'll talk about all of that. Okay, but in a nutshell, Google algorithm changes frequently. Okay, and especially now that we're in the area, in the era of AI, it's going to change even more. I mean, I can go on and on and on with what's going on right now. I was telling Jay, I attend a lot of conferences, you know, uh, related to websites, SEO, this type of stuff. Okay, and there's a lot of changes that are looming in the future. Okay, but if we started talking about that, I'll still be here tomorrow morning. Okay, one thing I can tell you is, despite the fact that there are all these algorithm changes and all these changes, these things that I've talked about is the core of what you need to rank number one on Google. Now, if you save this thing and you follow it, just the way that I've explained, there's a good chance you'll be very, very close to number one. Okay, obviously, I've been doing this for 30 years. There are some information that, some techniques and stuff like that I know that, average person doesn't know. Unless you do this every day for a living, okay? But what we're doing is, we know that, to build a website that goes to number one, stuff like that, it also will cost money. Because I mentioned about Ahrefs, SEMrush, a couple $100 a month. I talk about servers, but I kind of just, it was surface information. I didn't go in detail about it. But if you're going to have a fast server, it costs a lot of money too. It's not $6.99 a month, because people gonna go GoDaddy, they buy the server for $6.99 and they think they made it, all right, or they go to GoDaddy and they get GoDaddy Arrow, and they think they made it. Okay, it's great, because at the very least you need a website, but that's not going to take you to promised land. That's not going to take you to number one on Google.
Customized websites are pretty much better with high, as what you guys are teaching me, with high speed service.
Yeah, and you know what, servers, we can have a conversation about that, because a lot of people really don't understand, and I understand why they don't understand, because not really sexy information. Okay,
And it's
but
basically not in our culture, not yet. Once it gets in our culture, a lot of people are gonna understand and they're gonna be seeing the value in my brother spot. Like, wow, okay, I get it now. Like, whoa, this is a very good price. Instead of paying 1,700 a month on a high revving online business, I could pay 300 a month, get 5 to 10 pages, you know what I'm saying? Or $60 a month, if I'm selling art online, like my art, if I'm selling service, services as in confidence coaching, anything. You get a great value in my brother's spot, and you get one blog, and then you could reform that blog, and that's your prefix, you know,
yeah,
and you could capitalize off that. Go ahead, Willie.
yeah. So to finish, let's talk about everything we talk about in a few minutes. Okay, so we talk
Okay.
about CMS. So when you start your business, you want to start your website, we talk about CMS, which is content management system. We talk about the CMS that you can be on, like
Mhm.
I would say WordPress, Webflow, Shopify. The one you should definitely not build on GoDaddy, Squarespace, Wix, And the main reason for that, I was talking about code bloating and how that system work. Okay. So on those other platforms, you have a higher chance of ranking, right? And the reason for that is because, it's just mainly has to do with the server that your website is built on. Okay. And I can go in detail, but again, we'll be here for a long time. So we talk about the domain name. So make sure that your domain name has 10 characters or less, okay, and includes your um, your main keyword, okay, and your main keyword, obviously, which is a keyword associated with the business that you're in, right? Okay. Of course, once you have your domain name and your website, you want to do some keyword research. There are some free tools from Google, Search Console, Keyword Planner, that will help you to do some keyword research. Okay, but you also have websites like Ahrefs and SEMrush, which cost a couple of $100 a month, but they will also help you to line up some of those things I'm talking about here. Okay, um, we talk about website structure and how you need to plan your website, and you need to clearly identify each page and make sure that you have that your title, URL, meta description, h tags all lined up with the keyword that you're trying to rank for. Okay. um, we talk about on-page SEO, which is some of these things I just mentioned, and the content that you actually put on the website, related. You don't want to basically put different kind of content on the same page. You want to talk about one thing on one page, talk about the other thing on the other page. So the page should be very specific in the types of content that you put on there. Okay, we talk about blogging and having high quality content. The good thing is that AI is here. The bad thing is that AI is here. You do not want to go on there and just say, write me a blog and walk away and copy paste. You don't want to do that. You want to write, at least a basis of what you want to talk about, and then you can use, you can use AI to develop the idea, right? So that's what you can do with that. We talk about optimizing uh, your mobile section of your website, because most of your clients, potential clients, they will see your website on the phone. You have to make sure that it's optimized for mobile and that the mobile side is fast, because sometimes you will check the desktop side and it'll be great, and then you go to the mobile side and it's slow. Okay, which means that you may rank for desktop but not rank for mobile. And if you have most of your traffic for mobile, then you're missing an opportunity there. And you can check that for free. There's something called Google Page Speed, and you can go on there and then you can see what actually, if your website is performing well in terms of speed. Now, for all those folks on Wix and Squarespace and GoDaddy, go on Google Page Speed, and you will see what I'm talking about, to make sure that your website actually, meet the minimum that it needs to rank. Okay. Um, and then we talked about local SEO and how you can have pages on your website for specific areas that you work in. Okay, so instead of competing for the whole Atlanta metro area, you should compete for Marietta, for Sandy Springs, for Roswell, for Union City, for specific areas, because that's where the opportunity is. Because the large corporation, they're going for Atlanta, right? You don't have to fight because there's enough money in all of those cities, right? You look at a city like Sandy Springs. Sandy Springs is 200,000 people, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
it's enough. It's enough business. Okay, all right. And so one of the way for local SEO, as I mentioned, is Google Business. Set up a Google Business profile. Also, set up a Bing profile. Okay, so Bing used to not be so relevant lately, but now Bing is they have Copilot on all of the Windows browsers, which is Copilot is another AI platform, just like Gemini and ChatGPT and so forth. So Bing is very important because after Google is Bing. Okay, but you want to also list your business on Yelp, Square, Foursquare, Yellow Pages. There's a lot of them. Afrobees, AfrobeesWorld.com,
there you go. There you go.
MyBrotherSpot.com,
There you go.
SupportBlackOwned.com. There's a bunch of Black-owned websites that you can list on there as well. Okay, um, and then you have, and then we talk about backlinks. Okay, and all the ways that you can get backlinks. You can get backlinks from your church. If your church have a website, you can write a blog. You can guest blog, and
Hallelujah.
mention, yeah, and mention your website, your business in there, right? And then put a link to your website. We talked about obviously business directories. I just mentioned that. Guest blogging is great because you can blog on other people's website. We talked about collaboration with other people in other industries related to your website. So that creates links that drives the business back to your the traffic back to your website. Okay, and also gives you authority. Because so many people are mentioning you. It lets Google know that you are a relevant website that needs to be pushed to the first page. Okay, but I did warn against Fiverr and other similar places, link farms, where they offer you to pay for links so you can rank on first page of Google. Even if that does work, you're going to get penalized at some point, and you get penalized, you'll see all that work and money wasted. Okay, so don't try to go the quick route. The quick route will come back biting. Okay, all right, and then I mentioned about the Google tools that are there: Google Analytics, Google Search Console. Um, you know, and there are other tools that are paid tools, but you can use some of those to help you with this. Okay, and the last but not least, use social media in your advantage. Okay, you can do 3 to 5 posts a week where you have links, and descriptions that drives people back to your website. Okay, those will also count as backlinks. You have platforms like if you have a Facebook page, if you have LinkedIn, you can have a LinkedIn company page as well. Okay, if you have YouTube, you can put your links like there from when you post your content, and then people will basically go back. You will drive traffic back to your website. Okay, and last but not least, reviews and testimonials. Okay, so if you just got started and you know how to make cake, or you know how to cut hair real good, I'm sure there's a few people in your surrounding that know that you're good. Or at least I hope so, right? Just call these people. Call these people. Hey, go and write. I just set up my Google business profile. I set up my Yelp profile. I set up my Facebook page. can you please go on there and write a review about my service? Okay. And you know, that will indicate to Google that, hey, you know what, not only this guy say he's the best barber, but other people say it as well, right? So I can trust this person to rank for best barber in Atlanta, okay, best cakes in Atlanta, okay, or if Atlanta doesn't, you know, you don't rank in Atlanta, that's fine. Best cake in Decatur, okay, best cake in Stone Mountain, okay. There's a lot of people that live in Stone Mountain, okay, and Stone Mountain is growing, okay. And remember that, you know, all those links don't fade right away. It will take years before the link is out, right? Or before the link is not relevant anymore. By then, you've made your money, okay? So this is how you can rank #1 on Google within 6 to 12 months. If you do have any questions, okay, you can always contact us at info@mybrotherspot.com. My name is Willie. I'm a senior web developer at My Brother Spot. I'm always, you know, willing to give you pointers, but we do have some products that we are developing on My Brother Spot to help Black-owned businesses to have access or to have a piece of this internet wealth. You know, this is how I make a living. And I was telling Jay that, you know, you know, for a long time until I started working on these platforms, I felt guilty because I'm like, hey, you know, I have all this information, and that, you know, I'm not sharing it with my people, you know, and I'm not, you know, giving people kind of like the way to that. So at My Brother Spot, that's what we're trying to do, okay? Yeah. But thank you guys. If you do have any questions, like I say, you can always send us an email, and we can put you in the right direction. And thank you, Jay, for inviting me here again. And
thank you for coming, Willie. Thank you for being
I'm looking forward to, you know, give you, you know, whenever I have some time, give you guys some more pointers about how to build a successful website online.
Appreciate you, brother, man. You got such a big heart.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
All right, family.
Yeah, and then we'll, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll talk about some of these other subjects in the future when I have some time. But thank you for coming.
All right, family. We out, and thank you, whoever stopped by. Leave some comments if you have any questions, and if I can't answer them, I will email Willie, and I will get back with you or the studio crew. Peace.